Hi everyone, this is Ben, Head of Music at Waiku College, and today's episode of Amuse, I'm very privileged to have Steve here. Hi Steve, how are you going?
Yeah, good man.
Excellent. Tell
Thanks for
us,
having me here.
no problems man, tell us about, where you're from and what you do, just quickly.
Very quickly. Well, as of right now, I am the new guitarist for pop punk band Five of Glory. I have my own alternative metal and alternative rock show on Crescendo Aotearoa. That's on iHeartRadio. It goes live on Mondays from 7 to 8. Um, I did write a lot of reviews over the past couple of years, but because I've got so much on this year, I've put that on the side for a little bit. Um, I played guitar, I played bass, used to play violin, and yeah, listen to a lot of music like you do, Ben.
Yeah, man, thanks. And that's true. Like, and your reviews are great. I've read many. You've written one for
Oh,
us. Um,
and yours are great too.
Thanks, man. Thanks. And that's one of the cool things. The reason I got you on the show really is because when I looked at your radio station, I was listening to it and listening to your playlist. One of the things that I've discussed with you before when I've met you at the Ding Dong Lounge, which is where our band's played a couple of times, is we always end up having these pretty really cool conversations about music. And one of the things that I'm trying to do with my students and just for people in general is to kind of learn about why some people like some styles of music and why some people don't, and to be able to articulate those reasons why they do, and to be able to form your own opinions about why you do and don't like things. Because at the end of the day, I think when you listen to music, you can listen to it for enjoyment, which everybody does. But I find there's something really fascinating about sitting there, like you will when you're
Mm.
writing, a review, Steve, and paying attention and making, like some comments about it. What do you think about that idea? Do you reckon that's true? Is it something that people should learn?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that comes with sort of the new technology of just having pretty much every artist and every single thing they've ever released at your fingertips. So I guess it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it just means that you listen to it and it sort of goes one ear and out the other. So I guess
Mm-hmm.
maybe I'm probably guilty of it too, but I think we're a little less conscious of what we're listening to these days. But yeah, no, I think it can do a lot of people a lot of favors to really stop and think and listen, put on a good set of headphones and go like, that's listen to the guitars, listen to the flow of the lyrics, listen to the drumming, the complexities, the subtleties. Yeah, so I think that's just what we do as reviewers, right?
Yeah, no, that's 100%. And actually, you make a very good point, and I've mentioned this in a couple of episodes, but I've been reading a lot about it, and that is the concept that money isn't the currency that everybody's after anymore. It's attention. And because attention is what you have to pay to listen to a particular song or a particular album, if it's
Mm.
fragmented with different technologies that are interfering with your ability to give your attention to it, you're going to miss those details. And I mentioned this to JP the other day via text about his band Arrays, or his solo project Arrays, and I said to him, in your song Broken Savior, I just said I want to give you a nod for the shaker that I can hear in the chorus. And
Oh,
unless you actually listen to it and pay attention, you won't notice it's there. But he made a conscious decision for it to be there for a reason. That's
oh.
the beauty about listening to music and giving your full attention to it, right? So
There's a lot of reasons that you could really like a piece of music. It could be at the start, it could just be something as simple as the a vocal hook that grabs you and makes you go like, "Oh yeah, this is catchy. This is cool." But you know, find something that you find interesting. I guess like if it's something that's like a nice little twirly little guitar thing that someone's doing, or if you really like a groove or a funk in the bass line, um, hone in on that. If you like the drumming, if it sounds uh, if it sounds slow or fast or anything like that, just hone in on that and think about how that plays with something else that someone in the band might be doing.
okay, so
Um,
why don't we jump over then to talk about a particular style that you were very interested in still are, which is considered, we call it emo,
um,
right? The style of emo music. That's an interesting
yeah,
topic.
that's yeah, obviously that genre still cops a lot of flack these days, and for good or bad reasons. It doesn't really matter, but I think that's one of many genres I like. But I guess the reason what got me into that was after all of the prejudices of listening to this or that genre. One day I sort of stopped and was listening to, I can't remember what it was anymore. There was a couple of bands that my friend was playing to me, and he was a bit of an emo kid. But I stopped and I was like, hey, that's actually really good.
Do you remember what it was? You can't remember what it was? Because see, like emo to me was like I always think My Chemical Romance as being the one. When I remember when they released, is it the Black Parade? And even before that, there was like some music coming out from them. What's the guy's name? Gerald Way. Gerald, is it right?
Gerald Way, yeah.
Gerald Way, dude. Insane vocals, insane catchy hooks. Yeah. And I guess the other band that kind of fits into that era for me is Fall Out Boy.
Yeah, I think those two are sort of the quintessential emo as such. But I think early ones are sort of your Jimmy Eat World, and the latter ones are slightly more heavier. At least that's how I see it. Anyway, the latter sort of emo was a bit more sort of metalcore oriented. And I think that's where I started actually. So I think it was bands like AFI, which had a lot of very fierce guitar playing and very harsh vocals that I was just like, hell yeah, this is cool. And then of course Bullet for My Valentine, which featured a lot of very cool thrashy, very Metallica, Iron Maiden-esque kind of guitar playing, and I was like, hell yeah, this is good stuff. But granted, it was lumped into that sort of emo category, and part of me was a bit conflicted, being like, oh, does this mean I'm emo now? I guess I'll have to go down to the barber and get a side fringe.
Ozzy. This is an interesting point, right? And I think we should dive into this like straight into it. Like, do you reckon that there are like how do you say it? Like, do you think people categorize themselves based in the type of music that they listen to? Like, if someone said that, like, I liked emo, which to be fair, I do. You know, I'm interested later on. We could talk offline about Jimmy Eat World because I don't know if they are emo, but I love them anyway. But do you think if somebody hears that somebody likes this style of music, they're gonna just be like, oh, so they must look like this and they must wear this? Do you reckon that happens?
Yeah, I think it absolutely does. I think the more out there an image, the more people will go like, oh, they sort of form an opinion of you. You mentioned emo, and the first thing you think about is like, neon highlights in your hair and tight shirts and tight pants, eyeliner and Chuck Taylors and fishnet gloves and whatnot. But I mean, people do judge you by what you wear, and I think stripping all of that away, the sort of what you wear as part of the sort of the subculture, it all comes back down to the music, of course. And I think, as I said, if you like the song for whatever reason, personal reasons, if you like the fact that it just sounds good, it moves you, then who cares what you wear?
That's a good
what
point.
You look like.
That's right.
So,
I was going to say that, do you reckon that, like, it's funny because people will associate what you've said, like the things that they were wearing, but dude, that was hair metal in the 80s. Like,
I know.
Isn't that funny? Like Poison and Alice Cooper and all those groups, they were all doing that. Like, my favorite one is Motley Crue. Like, to me, that is like the ultimate kind of like hair metal. Vince Neil's like wailing away on vocals. Nikki Sixx. I've read his book, man. Have you read that? The Heroine Diaries? Have you read that book?
No. Jen actually has a copy. I really should read that. I'm actually finding myself really into getting really stuck into autobiographies and biographies. So I really should read that. Yeah, you're right.
I've read so many, and actually, it's funny because then, like, before we get back into emo, if you look then at, say, like bands like the grunge scene, Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, even I'm trying to think of the label that they were all signed to back then. But anyway, that scene was kind of like
Sub Pop.
Sub Pop. Yeah, man, that's it. Yeah. Seattle.
That was a big one. Yeah.
And so they were kind of like throwing away that, like, no, we're just going to go back to playing just these like power chords and, You know, we're not going to worry about how we dress. We're going to go anti exactly what everyone's getting into, and then that becomes popular. And then all of a sudden, Kurt Cobain gets thrown into the spotlight, and he gets, you know... have you seen that video of him when he plays Smells Like Teen Spirit? I think it was on like an MTV show, and they purposely did not play properly to the song because it was a pre-recorded like song they were playing to, and they were just making a mockery. Have you seen this?
No, I've heard of something similar, but I wasn't aware that was for MTV.
Yeah, it might have been either that or Top of the Pops, one or the other. It's one of the others. It's definitely interested. And it's obviously then you get all these people that are like, you know, grunge, and this is what people wear, which is in my mind immediately I think of those what do you call it, like is it plaid shirts, you know, you know, the ones like the squares flannel. And stuff, what is it called? Flannel. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. But then, you know, the sandy bleachy hair and you know, oh my gosh. But then
ripped jeans and
but then like you listen to bands like Pearl Jam and even like Nirvana, man, like my gosh, Nirvana and Pearl Jam, to me, they like inspired a whole generation. So the emo bands that you're talking about, they probably all were listening to that and influenced by it. But they weren't thinking about what they were wearing. I don't know where that sort of stuff comes from, and it doesn't really, as you said, it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't. I think it just comes with a sense of identity because, you know, I think one or two bands sort of pioneer a certain look, and then people kind of go, "Ooh, well, I like their music, but I also like the way that they dress," and so do all of my friends. And then sort of that kind of develops from there. You have a sense of identity by sporting what you wear on the outside. But I guess that clothing, I guess, is just another part of. I mean, I guess a lot of music can inform a lot of different aspects of everyday life.
Yeah.
I guess including clothing. But yeah, no, I guess at the end, like I said, if you're into it as a form of music, a genre of music, you shouldn't be put off by what others are doing or what others are saying about this band, that genre. At least that's the way I see it now. But back then I was very much,
Well, I'm the same, man. Like, you know, like when I was young and naive, and I'm always happy to admit this, it's kind of like I had this is the style of music that I listened to, and I kind of associated with it. And so whenever anyone tried to show me like hip hop or rap or pop music, I kind of just didn't give it a chance. I just didn't want somebody to prove me wrong that there was other styles of music that were great. Like you mentioned before we started that one of your favorite acts that you've seen is Lady Gaga, which you're wearing a Judas Priest shirt. So it's kind of like somebody's going to be like, what's he doing talking about Lady Gaga when he's wearing Judas Priest? Tell me about that.
No, I mean, actually she admits that she's actually a pretty big fan of old school heavy metal like Iron Maiden and Judas Priest, and I think there are some songs when you stop and listen to it, there are some rock elements in her music as often as she's categorized as pop. But yeah, no, I was very anti for the longest time. I was very anti hip hop, R&B, pop, and sort of soft rock or old, what I called back then old fogey rock. But you know, anyway, that's all changed because, you know, with the idea of really stopping and thinking about what you're listening to, what you like, why you don't like something, working from there. But no, Lady Gaga was one of those names that I was at the very start. I was like, ugh, like who listens to that? Like if you listen to that, you must be a loser. But and one day I was walking around. I think I was actually traveling overseas, and I was just wandering around the night market, and some store was playing music, and I was like, hey, that's a cool chorus. And I was like, that's so. This was before Shazam, so I like picked up on some of the lyrics, and I was walking past. I quickly, I don't think I could Google things on my phone back then, but anyway, I wrote it down because I was like, I really like the song. I must go home and like Google what the song was. I remembered some of the lyrics, and I went home, Googled it, and realized it was Lady Gaga, and I went, oh, I guess I like Lady Gaga now then. But great performer, lots of great songs. you know, I think we could probably talk about this in a bit, but there's a lot of songs that she writes where it just makes you feel something right here, and you're
Oh
like,
yeah.
you can't shake that. When something hits you in that sweet spot, you can't shake that off. You can't be like, oh no, I can't like this. It's part of you now, I'm afraid.
Yeah, well, that's
And I think,
that's a funny thing, because like so many people that listen to music, they are so biased because they feel like they have to be. Like the concept of being able to be open to anything and just giving your attention to anything kind of scares people. I feel anyway, because it kind of like means that if they like it, you can tell when you show somebody a TV show and you know that they're liking it, but they're trying their best to act like they don't, just because they don't want to watch it, and then they'll go home and watch it anyway. And it's kind of like that with music, like Katy Perry, for example. I saw her play at Spark Arena, and I remember when her show started. This is I've seen her twice now, but the first one I went on and saw, it was the California Girls. I can't remember the name of the album, but it was that album that she was promoting, or maybe it was Prism. It was Prism. Yeah, it's the one with Raw and stuff on. But anyway, stage starts. She comes out. She's got backup dancers, and she's there with a microphone. And I just turned to Louise. My wife was like, "Oh dear, another show with just a backing track and vocalist." And that went on for about 10-15 minutes, and then all of a sudden, the stage went away and changed, and behind this curtain was this full-on live band, and I'm getting goosebumps right now. I had the time of my life, and it was kind of just reinforced to me everything I learned at university about listening to music and writing music. It's like, stop categorizing and judging things, start just listening, and don't worry about bias. Just if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. But at least give it a chance.
I think I was fresh out of school, and I was still very into heavy metal, and not so much a bit of into heavy metal. I was mostly into rock, and anything else outside of it, I was like, nah. Hip hop, rap, I was like, no. If you listen to that stuff, you're obviously this and this, and obviously where I am now, if I could go back in time and tell me from age 18 and 19, I'll tell them to shut the hell up and try and get into it a bit more, because there's a lot of good stuff in there.
Oh yeah, man.
But yeah.
I actually do a whole term, and we talk about for my year 10s, we talk about hip hop, and I basically explain to them that this is a style that I didn't like, and I wish I had, as you just said, because there's so much history behind it. Like if you go back and you read about how the music was created and where it came from. In fact, I'm going to plug the fact that on Netflix there's a great show called Evolution of Hip Hop, and I think it's currently at its 4th season now, and it is absolutely mind blowing. Like I think everybody should go and watch it, because if you think about like the modern music that we have today, Steve, it's most scholars will discuss and talk about the fact that it stems from blues music. So everything we have, like if you look at Black Sabbath and the industrial, the era of rock as it started, the Rolling Stones were well known. Same like Led Zeppelin's been accused for ripping off blues. That progressed into rock, progressed into heavy metal, but hip hop is also founded in that sort of storytelling of blues. And so we also do at our school. We do a whole thing on blues as well, which I think most schools do. To be honest, it's just a fascinating thing.
It's great. There's very, very, very rich history in it that I think quite often gets overlooked. And to be honest, I have to admit, I need more of that in my life. I don't get enough of it myself. And I guess it's just a reminder for me to keep my doors open and maybe get some educate myself a little.
You could always do it. And in fact, one of the things I want to come back to quickly that you mentioned, and we discussed this. I remember in 2012 being at the school, was at Botany Downs Senior College when I was doing my practicum there as a teacher, and all of a sudden Spotify came out, and I was like, holy moly, I have access to all this music now? I don't have to stick it on my phone? And then I'd like flash back just then. I was like, man, I remember when I was a kid, like going through my dad's record collection, and the ritual of pulling it out of its sleeve and flipping it onto the turntable and gently placing the needle and sitting there with headphones and like paying attention and looking through the linear notes, and that to me is like a ritual of listening to music. which is a dying art in some cases. I feel like, people don't listen to albums anymore. They listen to like a playlist, or they'll listen to, and I think one of the things that I'm really passionate about, and I could do a whole lecture on this, is the importance of giving artists a chance to show you what they have on an album. Because an album like take, for example, Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon, which I grew up listening to many times, that reinforced rather how beautiful music can be if you, like, the whole thing flows from one track to another.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess that form of technology has stemmed from people's need for convenience. And that's well and good, but I think perhaps there should be a little emphasis to say that, like, that's great that you're listening to a playlist, and if you like a certain song, you have every opportunity to go to that artist and listen to more of them, because maybe even seek out the album, and if you like it enough, listen to it. I mean, I don't know what people do to buy music anymore these days. I still do, but
good man.
But give bands that you like, even just one-off songs that you go like, hey, that's actually really cool. Give them that time of day, listen to more of their stuff, because you never know, you might just find your new favorite band.
Yeah, and
I don't just having a new favorite playlist. I
don't want to diss by any. Anyway, I'm not dissing those that do just listen to songs and don't listen to albums. By no means am I saying that that's something that nobody should do. Because believe me, when I'm running or walking around or doing something, I will just listen to a random set of songs, and Spotify will recommend. But just like reading a book, you kind of don't pick up a book and read a couple of pages and then change. You sit down and you give it your time of day. That's a 15-hour commitment in some cases, whereas an album. So before we finish up, I'd like to spend the last sort of like 8 or so minutes just talk about this. Who are some bands you think that, or let's just go with a band that you think that every album they've kind of released has kind of pushed them forward? Because some bands get caught up in that releasing the same album over and over and over again situation. I have a list of bands in my head, and I don't want to talk to you about them because I think that otherwise I'm going to give you ideas. I would just be interested to see if there's anyone that you think that, could inform kids about how, genre doesn't really, it shouldn't, put them into this one place. That they might change genres and they might move through them, and every album's kind of like grows. Who do you think a band like that might be?
I think I'm going to say two big ones.
Okay.
And obviously they're going to be within the rock genre, because that's what I'm most familiar with. So I'm going to say two. I'm going to say Linkin Park and Bring Me the Horizon. Now, it's quite interesting because those two bands have kind of a similar trajectory, sort of a similar progression, in that they both started out playing very aggro, very angsty, very high energy, aggressive music. I mean, early Bring Me the Horizon was very almost extreme metal. But with every album, if you listen to through their back catalog, through every album, they always make a little bit of a change somewhere. In Linkin Park's case, actually in both bands' case, there were some albums that were so radical in change where they alienated a lot of fans.
They did.
I think that, for sure. But I think when you stop to really listen to, and if you stop and listen to the album, take away everything that they've come from, listen to the album from start to finish as it is, without being like, oh, well, this isn't classic Linkin Park. I like the 2001 stuff. Listen to an album from start to finish for what it is. And to be honest, a lot of the albums are actually a lot better than people say it is or isn't.
So can I jump in here and say, like, let's just go with Bring Me the Horizon first, because Linkin Park we'll talk about last. But I got introduced to Bring Me the Horizon from this song Shadow Moses from Sepultura. And I really liked that song. I really liked the big chorus and the fast, aggressive nature of the verses. And then, oh my goodness, when That's the Spirit came out, that album came out, I was like so blown away at how incredible that was. Like that opening track, Doomed. I'm just getting goosebumps thinking about it. Happy Song, Throne. I mean, every single song on that album to me is just incredible. But if you would have been a fan from their previous albums, you kind of would have been confused. You'd have been like, what's... But, and then you go to like Ammo, the one after that, which came out 2019. And I remember walking into the rock shop in Auckland City and it's like, who is this playing? And they're like, oh, this is the new Bring Me the Horizon album. And it just come out and I was like, damn, this is good. And then I went back and actually my favorite song on that album of Ammo, Armor, what do you want to call it, is Nihilist Blues, man. That hands down is my favorite song from anything that they've done.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's a big call.
It's a big one. Well, okay, since we're mentioning songs, but I think Mother Tongue, for me, I've said this to Jin. Jin is tired of hearing me say this every time I listen to it, but that Mother Tongue from Amo is a masterclass in pop rock songwriting.
Excellent.
It's got everything. It's absolutely got everything from just... It's got melodies, it's got harmonies, it has such great lyrics, and the instrumentation on that is very lush when you really stop to listen to it. Anyway, that's one of my favorites.
Yeah, but so actually, and to go back to your point, you know, like I think it was That's the Spirit that they had. I think his name's Jordan Fish. Is that right? He's the keyboard player, sampler.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, pretty sure.
It changed I mean, he writes a lot of the stuff now with Ollie. Dude, I don't know. There's everything about that band. Like, even if you go and you listen to Ollie talk about his life, his lifestyle, how he was living, what was happening in his life at that time, you kind of understand why the songs and the music went the way it did. And they were kind of like, well, if you don't like it, it's fine, man. We're still writing music because we want to go. So that's a great example of a band that was like this and then changed to this.
Yeah. No,
good one. Okay, Linkin Park. Yeah. I'm going to say that with Linkin Park, the funny thing is that when the two albums, Meteora, came out, I actually hated Linkin Park the first time I heard them. And then my mate's like, did you actually listen, or did you kind of just like skip through them? And I was like, I didn't want to admit. So I did go back, and now I think it's one of the most important albums of modern times in regards to, like, it was a perfect example of a great songwriting that was short. And then, but I felt like they redid it with Meteora, like it was the same album. And then when the next one came out, which actually, I talked to Chris about this, I actually have the book for Minutes to Midnight. I really love this album. This to me is when they changed, and they kind of found themselves without being stuck in that cookie cutter era of the first two albums. What are your thoughts on that? So what is it about Linkin Park you like so much?
Well, I mean, I've kind of there were parts of their discography that I kind of dropped out of. I grew up listening to the first two albums. The Hybrid Theory blew me away.
Same, man.
I still remember I remember sitting down and listening to, what was that song called?
One Step Closer. That was the first one, or this Paper Cut.
Yeah, but there was a particular guitar sound that I was just like, holy crap, that's made on a guitar. That's incredible. Was it Points of a Thought? With You, I think it was.
Oh yeah, dude, that's such a great chorus. Those chords, drop C sharp. I think they're playing.
Yeah, that's right. And I was just like, holy crap! Like, a guitar can do that? That's astounding. First two albums, that was a big influence. And then by the third one, I didn't want to like it, but I was like, no, that's actually pretty good. I think it also helped with the fact that the very first single from that was also on the first Transformers film.
Somewhere I Belong. Is it right? No, that's off the Meteora. I know.
What I've Done.
What I've Done. There we go. Yep.
No, I gave the album the time it deserved, and I think from there I was a bit like, that's actually pretty good. It's actually a pretty solid album from start to finish. It's nothing like what they did two albums before, but as I said, like, when you take away in terms of musicianship, if you take away everything that they've done before, they've literally scratched everything and went, look, we're gonna take everything from it with fresh eyes. We're gonna do something completely different, maybe what we want to do.
Even more so when you get to a Thousand Suns, which I also really loved, like, because it was so experimental that I can't remember the name. Actually, I have to type it in because I really need to give the name of the song. I remember hearing the song for the first time, and I could do a whole class at school about how clever it was.
Was it really offbeat? Like the rhythm was really...
It's got that calypso sort of beat. I'm going to tell you the name of it. When They Come For Me. Oh,
that's
man.
The one. Yes, that's a good one. Yeah, that's a very good one.
Because, in fact, actually, here you go. This is kind of like one of the things I'm aiming for with this podcast is now that we can talk about this, go and listen to the song at the end of it. But if you listen to the vocal, what he does, they're playing, he's singing that over top of a particular chord progression, but by the end of the song, he's singing the exact same melody, but it's over another chord progression, and it just makes sense. And to me, like, goosebumps again, bro. Just like, that's clever songwriting. Like, I love that album. It's got moments, but overall, it's incredible.
Yeah, I think that one really grabbed me because it had. I think that was one of the rare instances in modern radio-friendly rock where it actually had sort of that Asiatic, Middle Eastern kind of sound. Because that chorus has it. Like, I hesitate at saying Indian, but like it has that
we would call it like
Asiatic.
Yep. Arabic sort of sound. I remember at university we called it like the double harmonic major or something like that. It was, I can't remember, but it's, like music theory wise, it's kind of like, you got root and then minor second, and then you go to like a major third, and then you kind of have the minor sixth, and you have the major seventh at the end there, and it gives it this really kind of like gypsy almost like sound. But see, one of the bands that I reckon that was doing that perfectly, and again, like one of the reasons I got so into them was Korn. Korn had that down, like they had that nailed.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, like if you listen to It's On, or just anything from kind of like the Follow the Leader era onwards, they were really big on that. And there's just something.
That's true.
Yeah. That's and if you go back and you listen to Linkin Park talk, they'll always say that Korn was one of their biggest influences.
Yeah, for sure. I think if anything, Korn was probably the biggest influencer in terms of kickstarting that sound because Slipknot were influenced by them.
Yes, man. Yep.
Yeah.
New Metal.
So yeah, that's right.
Terrible name. Horrible name. It basically, if someone got pigeonholed into new metal, eventually their career was over already because it, like we mentioned, it's a good way to kind of wrap this sort of thing up, is that it pigeonholed them into the genre, which was not fair. And labels were going around and signing every new metal band they could possibly find because it was making money.
Oh God, yeah.
Like Limp Bizkit.
Yeah.
Which I actually like quite a lot.
Yeah, no, me too. I listened to Chocolate Starfish a lot when I was in my youth. I actually mentioned this. I actually have Korn in my latest Ampstack Radio segment. Well, not segment, show. I actually commented that, on the fact that Korn being the band that they are, and how many years they've been going, all the dramas they've been through, the major personnel changes, in particular, the drummer leaving, the guitarist quitting, then rejoining. They've actually managed to keep their sound reasonably intact, but also they haven't sort of diminished with being sort of lumped as sort of, they were the sound and now it's just sort of just faded away. They haven't faded away. They've actually managed to hold their own pretty well given the amount of time they've spent in the circuit. So yeah, I guess I gave them a little kudos to that one because for a band that's gone through so much and so, they've actually achieved a lot and managed to maintain that sort of that status in modern rock history.
Korn is actually like, to me, like when I'll never forget this, man. I was 12 and I can't remember if it was, I think it was Max TV at the time, and I'd gone to my mate's house and his brother was really into metal and like Caius and stuff like this, and he's like, have you heard Korn? And I was like, who? He's like, Korn, you should check them out. And I was like, okay. And we were just about to leave for Temple Bowling, And because that was a thing back then. And the TV was on, and the guy who was running the show was like, "And next up we got on the show we got Korn." I was like, "Hold on a second, Mum and Dad." So I got a VHS and I popped it into the VHS and hit record and went out timber bowling. And the next morning, this is when I was 12 years old, where I got up in the morning and I found on the tape where Korn was, and I was getting myself dressed, and then Shoots and Ladders was the song. And I just remember standing there and being like, what is this music? I've never heard anything. I've never heard vocals like that. I've never heard guitar like that. And I became obsessed. In fact, if you look behind me, you'll see I have a Ibanez RG450 guitar there because I was Ibanez. I had Adidas like tracksuit like Jonathan Davis. Like he was my hero, like Head and Monkey. Oh man, I could do a whole episode on Korn easily.
I think Korn was one of the influences that got me to grow my hair long in the first place. And like you, or not so much in the tracksuit department, but I actually got myself an RG as my very first guitar because I was so into Korn.
That's my first guitar too, man. RG, I bought that with my own money.
Is that a 7-string?
No. See, I didn't understand what that 7-string was. So when I was trying to learn Korn songs, I was like, well, I can play this stuff like good God. But how are they getting that low? And they're like, they're using a 7-string. And I was like, whoa, what is a 7-string? But yeah, we should probably wrap it up, man. We could talk all day on this, and in fact, I think I think what we've demonstrated just by having this dialogue is just to show how like passionate people can get with music, and I think it's a beautiful thing, and kids need to be more open to listening to other styles that they might not like, because it's going to give them the insight. Do you know?
Yeah, and I think me personally, if I could go back in time and like tell 16, 17, 18-year-old me, I'd probably say, look, screw what other people are saying is crap, or don't listen to this because it means this, but listen to it, and really, if you like it, let it sit with you and embrace it, because I was so closed off in my early years, but now I'm just like, you should stop and listen to something, every now and again you would just be like, that actually is really, really funky, really interesting to listen to. Why is that so cool? Why do I like it so much? And just let it be,
Yeah, I'll give a plug to Rick Beato. If you don't watch his videos, people, you should go watch his videos where he breaks down songs. I would love to do that sort of thing, but he does it so well that I feel like I don't even need to. It's just like, he does it. He's perfect at it. So I always ask people this question, but I'm going to ask you it slightly differently. 3 words of advice about how kids could listen to music to open their horizons up a little bit more. 3 words. You can describe them if you want, but 3 words.
3 words. Headphones. And for goodness sake, never through the bottom of your phone with phone speakers. Never do that.
No.
So headphones. And I would say heart, because it sounds really damn cheesy, but if you feel the music, man, like when it hits you, there's a really indescribable feeling, man. Like music has that power. Nothing else in the world can do that for you.
I agree.
Once it hits you, that's it. You love that song. So I would say heart, or sort of that soul, when it hits you in there. That's how you found a good song. And I guess third, I guess learn.
Nice.
That's a very broad sense. I mean, it's almost a little bit too broad. I mean, you could learn in terms of learn how it's played. You can learn to play it out on instruments. You can learn to sing it. Learn about the history of the song. You can listen to a song and then pick out all of the little influences, where all of that came from.
Perfect.
And listen to it on headphones. You learn about you can start picking apart the little components of the song. Learn the history. Learn the artist's back catalog. Learn their influences. So I guess headphones, heart of it, and just be open to learning.
Perfect. That's great advice. And in fact, one of the things I really like about it is I I like kind of feeling a little bit validated for what I teach at school. And I actually do teach kids to go off and do a presentation about a band they like, to find out the genre and find out the influences and try to make links. Because one of the books I read this year and last year was about how the human brain, and I've said this in so many episodes, but it's a pattern recognition engine. So the more you can input stuff when you hear those influences, you recognize them, it makes you feel good, and you can start to talk about them and make meaning from it. Like one of the funniest things is when you hear, somebody talk to an artist about how they interpreted the lyrics or the song, and the artist goes, "Oh, I never actually thought about it that way before." And it's such a cool feeling when that stuff happens, man. Dudes, thank you, Steve, for spending time with me tonight, man. We actually had a really nice long episode, and I'm going to let it be because we had a really great chat. So thank you again.
Thank you for having me. It's been a... Yeah, I love talking about music. I could do it. I literally could do it all day.
Same with me. That's why I'm a music teacher.
Maybe I should pivot and change careers. I don't know.
Just saying. Okay, until next time, everyone. We'll see you later. Take care. Bye-bye.